Well, you talk a little bit about what you've seen from different. Let's talk about units rather than positions. I mean, the defense was coming off a high last year. I mean, have they kind of kept that rolling so far?
I mean, it's too early to tell. This is the first time that we've had the pads on. You don't want to make judgments like that early. I mean, right now, I expect our secondary to be better. All those guys are back. All those guys are healthy. Obviously, missing Dwayne. We're moving Paul Swan to Mike. DJ Lynch becomes a starter at the Buck. You got Gabe Martin back. I think the real key there is finding, who is the third, who's the fourth, or who inside,
right.
And then is there finding a backup for Gabe? On the D line, obviously you lose Chris Jones. I mean, the challenge is almost our whole starting D line is out this spring. Jarris Campbell's out still. He'll be hopefully good for the fall. Ted Alette is out for the spring. Brian Thomas is out. But the benefit of that is you get a lot of young players reps. Isaiah Lunsford's getting a lot of reps. Mike Mins is getting a lot of reps. Kendall Montgomery. Now you put him at end. He's going to get a chance to play a lot of football this spring. And so even though obviously you'd like to have everybody healthy, I think there is a benefit that you're getting a lot of good young players, a lot of reps against our starting offensive line.
And it would seem to me you have really good numbers at all three of them. Well, especially at the defensive back and on the line, getting a lot of guys some time, some experience.
Yeah, and you look at defensive tackle, and I mean, one of the great things last year is that we went into the year having three, pretty good players.
Yeah.
And then when you lost Jarris Campbell, Ted Alette steps up and becomes an all-conference player. So I think getting Zach Colvin now, Zach's got to be that third guy next year. That is, between Jarris and Ted when he's healthy, and you get Zach going, and now who's the fourth, who's the fifth, and that's where Isaiah Lunsford, Mike Mins, those guys really are going to get a ton of work this spring and hopefully get themselves to a level that they can play and play really good reps for us. And then defensive end, getting Jaleel Crowley out there, he looks good. Getting Kendall a lot of work. Charlie Walker's healthy. I think he's ready to take that next step as a player. It's great having Ronnie Goebel back. So we have people in those positions, and again, I think spring to me is primarily about getting those younger players ready to go and getting them game ready. And it's unfortunate we're hurt at that position, but the benefit is those guys get a lot more work.
Looking at the offense a little bit, it's kind of the same situation with the offensive line. You have a fair number of people back, but you've also got some depth, and you have a chance to look at a lot of different guys for different positions.
We have numbers. I don't know. To me, depth is playable guys.
Okay, fair enough.
So,
but you do have numbers.
We have numbers, and that's where the group we redshirted last year. Christian Piazza is getting a chance to take over for Jordan Russos, but he's going to get pushed. I mean, we like Dalton Chapman, we like Jacob Bennett, we like J.J. Began, we like Ben Stewart. We like Logan Dietz a lot. Those guys, I think, all have a chance to be really good players. Now, of that group, who's going to be ready as a redshirt freshman? I think that's the challenge. And if it's all five of them, we're going to be in great shape. It's got to be at least two or three of them. And then, Darian Delaney is a good athlete, and it's his time. He's got to step up, and this is a critical spring for him. Because I think if he gets into the mix this year, now he becomes a player for us. If he doesn't step up this spring, it may never happen.
And at the receiver position, it's the same thing. I think you have numbers. It's a time for you to start developing depth.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before that. Chris Gallen needs to take the next step and not be a guy that one game catches 8 balls for 120 yards and the next game catches 1 ball for 6 yards. Sean Joplin has to become an all-conference player for us. I mean, last year was his first year starting. There were great moments. The play he made against Kent, the play he made against Buffalo, but all too often wasn't a factor. And I think those two have to really rise their game up and be factors in every game. And then I expect Ryan Burbrink to get better in the slot. But who's going to be 4? Who's going to be 5? Who's going to be 6? Who can push those players? And we got some players coming in at receiver and at running back that I think, those are usually 2 positions that freshmen can play at.
And a little bit about what you're looking for the quarterback position.
I'm looking for consistency. I mean, that is really what we've lacked. I mean, we make some big-time throws, and then we don't make plays that an average quarterback should make. And that is the the part that if Matt is going to win the job and retain the job, he's got to play much more consistent than he did a year ago. And those other two guys are good players. I mean, Matt Johnson and James Kanapke, I mean, they're going to push him. And so, if Matt ends up winning the job, it's because he truly won it, not by default. Because I think those other two guys are both good quarterbacks and Division I quarterbacks and can play. So I think this year, as opposed to last year, we have legitimate competition. And not that Matt Johnson wasn't a good player last year. He just didn't have enough reps in the offense and didn't have a knowledge base of the offense that he has now.